Manchester United 5, Leicester City 2. It's a funny old sport. It's interesting how quickly these things change. What was the big change in this game? Why were United so good? Well, today we're going to have a look at that, but only if you subscribe first. You done it? Okay, let's look at the tactics. So we are going to start off with Manchester United on the ball and look at some of the principles which seemed quite clear under Ruud van Nistelrooy in his first game, starting with playing out from the back, building the ball in the middle phase and then attacking in the final third. Let's look at some of the patterns we saw. Starting off with the goalkeeper. Manchester United were patient in their approach trying to play out from the back, and it started off in a fairly basic structure, and I think this structure was pretty predictable when we saw the starting 11. Ugarte and Casemiro in midfield tells you what you're going to get. Two players who are not going to rotate into wide positions particularly regularly. They are going to stay in the middle of the pitch and be that kind of foundation point for the team. So this is how Manchester United started. We would start with the two centre-backs splitting either side of the goalkeeper, increasing the passing angles. We've then got this line of four across the middle here, and then at times it's a narrow three behind the striker, at times it's a wider three, at times it's a front two. But this is how Manchester United are building initially in the first phase when Leicester City are trying to put us under pressure. However, as United then move up the pitch, the structure changes a little bit. We see De Ligt shift more to the right hand side, Lindelof come into the centre, Lisandro Martinez move into centre back, Dalot of course flies forward like so, and suddenly when Manchester United are a little bit higher up the pitch, it is now more of a 3-2-4-1 shape. A shape which we've seen a fair amount from Manchester United in recent weeks. What I like about this shape is the same as usual. The ability to overload this first line here. You can see Leicester only have 4 players trying to apply pressure. Manchester United have 5. This is good from United, this is an overload. In the next phase, this box shape in midfield, United have the overload. We also potentially have the ability for easy access out wide. This is all good for Manchester United. This is what we want to see. The question is, how did we make that transition? Because we started off in that deep back 4 shape, then we moved to the back 3. So how did we actually do that? The detail here is important. So to figure this out, we need to rewind it a little bit, go back to the first phase and look at Manchester United in the back 4 shape. And you can see the sort of shape that Leicester were trying to use in their high press. Most of the time it was a 4-4-2, that's pretty logical. It allows you to match up man to man. This is what we would expect from this sort of game. So how did United get from here to the back 3 shape? How did that transition happen? Because it is a key movement. Well, it was largely due to Ugarte and Casemiro in the midfield. 2 central midfielders, players playing in their best position. This is what we like to see. But what was really interesting is the way that Casemiro, despite being on the right side initially, would actually very often move over to the left-hand side. Now, why is he doing that? It's to break the Leicester City high press. You see, what Leicester are trying to do with their front 2 is, of course, apply pressure to the 2 Manchester United centre-backs, but they are also trying to be pressing cover shadows for the 2 into midfield. So they're trying to apply pressure to the ball, but also stop this pass through here. This is what they're trying to do. There was a clever movement from Casemiro. Was this tactical instruction? Was this player decision? I don't know. But there was a movement that we kept seeing where Casemiro would make movements where he clearly doesn't want the ball, he's being a decoy, and he would just sort of slowly jog, almost to be an extra midfielder on this side with Ugarte. So it looks really unbalanced, but it is actually quite effective, because suddenly one of the Leicester City players has to follow that. If they want him to be in their cover shadow, they have to move in that direction, and that's when the easy pass can come across to De Ligt, and then De Ligt can step forward, and then because De Ligt has stepped forward, Dalot can push forward, because Dalot's pushed forward, Rashford can move inside, and now quickly we start to see that back 3 shape, and we can have a look at a couple of examples of this. You can see initially Leicester's front 2 against Manchester United's 2 centre-backs. Of course, this isn't a perfect scenario, the ball has been moved about a little bit. But the key here is Casemiro in the middle of the pitch here. He's fairly central at the moment, just right of centre. But what he's going to do is make a slow movement, and this really was a slow movement. He basically just walks into this space, but the Leicester City player chooses to follow him. And as a result, we can see now all of the room that De Ligt has on this side of the pitch. But if you actually look how Casemiro and Ugarte are, how close they are to each other, it's an off-balance shape, but it does give us this easy access to the right-hand side. And then De Ligt has the room to carry the ball forward, and that's how we transition into more of the back 3. We've got another situation like it here. Casemiro, very central on this occasion. In fact, slightly left of centre. So normally you would actually expect him to shift now to the right to get back into position. But what he actually does is he chooses to go even further to the left-hand side. And again, the idea behind this is opening up the space towards the right-hand side of the pitch, again giving De Ligt time on the ball to step forward and get United into that back 3. Now, once into this sort of 3-2-4-1 shape, it was largely a lot of what we've seen in recent weeks from Manchester United. You know, we got Rashford and Dalot rotating down the right-hand side, Dalot often being a runner whilst Rashford comes a little bit deeper. We've seen that a lot recently. It was Bruno Fernandes in the left half space, We know that's his best position. We done a video on it the other week. We know this is where he's at his best. And the past 2 to 3 performances, he has been much better. We know the threat that Garnacho's going to bring. This is all stuff that we expect to see from United. We've seen it most weeks this season. Something a little bit different we did offer in this game was runners when the game was a bit more settled. When it was a bit more compact, we saw a lot of runners off the ball. And Lisandro Martinez, using his left foot on the left side of the fence, was the perfect player to try and find those runners. Garnacho a couple of occasions went in behind. We saw Bruno Fernandes going in behind. And Lisandro Martinez trying to go long, direct, to shift this Leicester defence backwards, to force them back a few yards. Basically then helping United to get up the pitch and gain a little bit of territory. And of course, on top of that, in terms of the attacking threat from United, transitions. We know this front four is going to be good in transition. When you've got Bruno Fernandes in the middle in his best position, Garnacho and Rashford either side with a linking striker, we know you're going to create chances. Ultimately, United done exactly that. Were incredibly clinical. You've got to feel a little bit sorry for Ten Hag. With the finishing in recent weeks compared to last night, you feel a little bit sorry for him. But on the ball, it was good from United. It was nothing brand new. It was perhaps relaxed players, a couple of tactical tweaks, and just clinical play, to be honest. So on the ball for United, it was all more of the same pretty much, just a bit more clinical. Out of possession, however, there was a more noticeable difference. This was an aggressive, intense Manchester United side that tried to squeeze high up the pitch, often went man-to-man to force Leicester under pressure, forcing Leicester to send the ball long. Manchester United would win the ball back and build from there. And I like to see that from this United team. We do have to consider, of course, we were playing weaker opposition and against a side that suited us tactically. Now, the reason I say that is because Leicester very early would switch to a back three, like this, and James Justin, the right back, would move incredibly high, like so. The shape looked a little bit like this. What we then saw from United, though, was largely a man-to-man press. Garnacho, who is our left winger, would come in onto the right centre-back. We've seen that before. Xerxes onto the other centre-back, Rashford of course on the left-back, and in midfield we're going to match up and go man-to-man. Ugarte is the perfect sort of player for this, kind of jumping out from the back to be aggressive in these areas, and then Casemiro covering a bit of space in here, but you can see the system we are going for. Why is it different though to in recent weeks? Because like I said, we've seen before Garnacho kind of coming inside like this, and for United this season the problem has been when teams then play that pass. Well, the reason that pass wasn't on in this game is because Lisandro Martinez, from left back, often connected the press. So we were actually fully man-to-man all over the pitch. Even if someone from the front line dropped a little bit deeper, our centre-backs were willing to follow. And this made United much more intense, much more aggressive, and much more difficult to play against. Initially, you can see the 4-2-4 that we've seen before, or you can see hints of it, certainly. But the big difference is this. When Garnacho comes inside to apply pressure to the centre-back, rather than leaving the fullback free, Lisandro Martinez from left back is backing the press. Now, like I said, this may just be because of the way that Leicester set up. It did suit us. But regardless, it's good to see United playing in this way. You know, being aggressive, forcing the opposition to turn the ball over. We've got it again here. Garnacho inside onto the centre-back. No easy option for the goalkeeper. But also no option out wide because Lisandro Martinez is ready to be aggressive. But also, Victor Lindelof is ready to be aggressive and engage in these areas. We force Leicester to play long. De Ligt wins the long ball. This is man-to-man pressing. This is really good from United. And then we've got another situation like it here as well. Again, it's man-to-man everywhere. Rashford's a little bit deeper on this occasion. We can see Garnacho high on the far side. And look in here. Victor Lindelof going all the way halfway into the opposition's half to follow his man. That is our centre-back. That is more aggressive pressing. That is good to see from Manchester United. Now, like I said, we don't know if this was because of the opposition. Is this something that Van Nistelrooy will look to do over the next few games? I don't know, but it was nice to see that improvement off the ball in terms of the high press. Now, whilst the high press may have been more effective, I still had concerns about United defensively, particularly in the mid-block in the 4-4-2 shape, or at times the 4-2-4. I've still got concerns. Leicester City had chances in this game, or they certainly had a lot of shots. And my big concern would still be the intensity out wide. We have to improve in this area. We're not just looking at the wingers here, we are also looking at the way that the midfielders help them and also the fullbacks. But United need to improve in these wide areas for Van Nistelrooy's shape and structure to work, but also Amorim when he comes into the club. Wide intensity is key. United struggle here currently. So we do need to see progress, but we already knew that. We know this United side is far from perfect. In terms of one night of football, one match, Ruud van Nistelrooy done a very good job. 5-2 win, it's good for confidence, we scored some goals, and it gets the fans a little bit happier, something to celebrate. Smiles on the players' faces. This is exactly what we want to see. So, all in all, a pretty good night for Manchester United. Far from perfect, but there was improvements, there was a little bit of progress, and hopefully we can sort of carry that confidence, that feel-good factor, that bounce into the next game. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. In terms of for today, we are finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.